Hi, I'm Tracy Lewis with We Are Winter Garden, and I am joined with Pastor Scott, who is the founder, CEO, and president of Matthew's Hope, and our lovely Shelley, who is the vice president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. Welcome to episode 30 of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, where we are going to be talking about the criminalization of homelessness right here in Florida. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently signed a legislation prohibiting local municipalities from allowing people to camp or sleep on public property. DeSantis and top Republicans in the Florida legislature highlighted that their anti-public camping bill would provide what are known as wraparound services, including mental health care for the state's homeless population. The governor said that the bill will help maintain and ensure that Florida streets are clean and that Florida streets are safe for our residents. The legislation, which takes effect on October 1st, requires municipalities to designate a specific public space for camping and sleeping if the shelters are full with approval from the State Department of Children and Families. They must include security, behavioral health services, and bathrooms with running water. The bill's sponsor, Representative Sam Garrison, noted that the state has allocated $30 million for what are known as continuums of care to prepare for the law. That is $10 million more than the previous year. Now, I see you guys shaking heads and reacting to this. Tell me your thoughts.
My first reaction is this: $30 million. Have these guys ever taken a math class? Okay. Do they understand basic economics? And here's why I say that. Just for Matthew's Hope to do what we do, and we are not sheltering anybody outside of our transitional housing. Our budget need this year, when you add up the money, the in-kind services, all those type of things, it's roughly going to come in at about $15 million. And we're only handling a portion of Orange County and a portion of Brevard County.
$15 million.
Okay. And they've allotted, they've allowed, sorry, $30 million for the entire state. Okay. Come on. How freaking delusional you have to be. And I don't even know who this guy is. If we're Republican, Democrat, I don't know. I don't care. Okay. It's delusional at best. You're either delusional or you've bought into some kind of weird lie, or you just simply don't care or don't know, because it's so much bigger than that. It's been said that to set a camp up, like they're talking about doing, would roughly cost $60 million for one.
Mercy. I'm not good at math, but this is not looking good.
Doesn't add up, right?
It doesn't add up, but everybody's just going like, high-fiving each other. Look what we did. Okay. And folks, again, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, anything in between, you're voting these people in. And if they don't have a basic understanding of that, what else do they not have a basic understanding of? What really bothers me about this, and I'm hoping that Austin or Nicole Wilson will address this, is the Amendment 8 aspect of it. Okay, of cruel and unusual punishment, that we're allowing states now to supersede our national U.S. Constitution. The second thing that bothers me is the way the bill is, it's now law, is presented. It's very broad. It's also not just broad, it's very convoluted. And aside from that also is that I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. When you use words like sleeping, okay, that's about a broad stroke as you can give. Because what it does, it's outlawing people from get proper rest. And then you wonder why you get what you get.
Right.
You have people that aren't getting proper rest to begin with. They're not getting proper nutrition. They're not getting maybe the mental health care they need. They're not getting the medical care they need. They don't have a place to put their children. They don't have a place to lay their head. I can go on and on and on. And I realize that's a lot to get your head around. Had just one of our leaders at some point in the past been proactive on this, it would not become the nightmare that it's becoming now. It is, sorry for those that bother or get bothered when I say things like that. It's a shit show coming our way, and I don't think anybody's prepared for the storm that's going to hit. And it's oddly enough, back in May of 2019, I was quoted in the paper saying that local municipalities throughout Central Florida should be preparing for a homeless tsunami. When a tsunami hits, it's not just the storm that came in. Mm-hmm. It's when it pulls out, it does the most damage. And I said that based on, I was a commodities trader and financial planner years ago. I was looking at what's going on with the economy. I was looking at housing. I was looking at wages. I'm looking at all those things, and I go, I'm seeing these numbers roll in, and they just kept getting faster. It was like a steamroller was chasing us there, and it still is.
For sure. Yeah.
And that's why I said that in public and on the newspaper. What I didn't know at the time was I said at that time I thought it would take 3 to 5 years for this nightmare to happen. I didn't know there was going to be a pandemic, and the pandemic hit and accelerated everything. We grew by 500% in like a ridiculous short period of time. And though our donor base has continued to go up for 14 straight years, it's so crazy that we've been doing this for 14 years. Mm-hmm. Though our donor base has continued to go up, the need is far outweighing that. And what they're suggesting, a couple things, is that first off, they're suggesting these services are going to be in place, but they've also, and I spent some time in Tallahassee while it was still a bill, before it went into law. And one of the things that bothered me is they said this will force people into getting services they need. The challenge is those services don't exist.
That's right.
Unless it's through someone like us, and you're trying to let that dump onto the nonprofits. And I can tell you, we have closed more nonprofits since the beginning of the pandemic than ever in time of our history. And I can tell you organizations like us are literally living paycheck to paycheck. We really are. It's a walk in faith every day, and they're saying, well, the nonprofits will pick this up.
Which they're barely above water.
Right.
Which, they're already drowning. So just go ahead and shove them underwater. And so there's a lot of things about this that, doing the wrong thing for the right reason is always the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It just is. And doing what they're doing was, I believe they believe in their minds, is this is going to eliminate homelessness, as if all the homeless from Florida, because now they've made the whole state the backyard.
They're all going to just go to the next state.
Yeah, just go. Well, Ronnie, he's all about spending money. I mean, and whether somebody's going to send me a nasty gram, and I invite you to come on and tell me your thoughts. But, we're spending our taxpayer dollars to transport people from Texas to Florida. If it's such a big problem for us, why wasn't he using those planes and that money and our tax dollars to move those from here to there? I understand the point he was trying to make.
Sure.
The other side of it is are your tax dollars worth government officials making a point rather than looking at the problem?
Right.
Finding out how that problem exists, what is the cause of that problem, rather than keep treating the symptoms.
Right.
Or pushing them to someone else. To someone else.
And playing musical chairs. We see this done with all the municipalities. We got about 15 that we serve now. And we'll watch people, Ocoee will move it to Winter Garden, and then this one moves it over to Popka. Popka moves it back out. And here's what's very interesting. Every time they do trespass one of these camps, within days, if not weeks, within days, sometimes somebody else is there. Sometimes the same people, sometimes other people. But what happens more than not is they will move just down the road, establish another camp, and someone new will come into that. And that's, I heard a number, I thought it was 35 to 40,000 was the old number. I heard the new number is that per individual that to incarcerate them per individual a year is roughly $45 to $55,000 a year per person.
Wow.
That is just a crazy use of money.
Yeah.
When we could take that same money and do it different. You know, years ago I worked for a company named Toto. It's a toilet manufacturer. And I was sitting down with the people at Universal, and I was explaining to them how this flush valve would save them money on their water usage. That would more than pay for the flush valve.
Right.
Okay? That's a different budget.
Right.
Okay, so they saved a little money by not going with me. They saved a little money buying the equipment, but it cost them more, and the money they would have saved went away. Same type of thing happening here.
Yeah. Shelley, why do you think they call it anti-camp law instead of anti-homeless law?
Because it looks prettier. Looks prettier.
Sounds nicer.
It sounds a lot nicer.
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
got-
sound like you're being a bully to a homeless person.
It's like slapping lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. Okay?
Right. Right.
So, Scott, you had a lot to say, which was great. Shelley, what would you like to add about this law?
You know, I'm a bigger picture thinker. I think forward. I think what is going to happen next, and I think of all of these people that are going to be expected to come in DCF and make this happen. The people that we are going to put in place to give our guests wraparound services, they're not equipped. And how are we going to equip them between now and October? It's taken me 6 years, and sometimes I still have to go, hey, hold on, I've never seen this before. I did it this morning. I have never seen this before. It doesn't mean that you can't find an answer, but that's not the answer here. The answer of just slapping lipstick on a pig, like Scott said, that's not the answer. And we've got to do this right. And if we don't do this right, we're not solving anything. We're just making a bigger mess.
Right.
And everybody is going to pay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think the other thing I would say to you is that when we start allowing state government to supersede something like our Constitution, once that happens, then you open the door to happening in all kinds of other areas. And so that's the other issue I have with something like that. It's not just how it affects homelessness, it's how it affects our constitutional rights. And I think that I don't even know if the people behind it even considered that part.
Right.
They did a knee jerk, in my opinion. They came up with I think it was like 3-page note of what this looked like. It was like reading a third grader's attempt at explaining something, because it was so poorly written, in my opinion, and so convoluted that I realized I'm a high school dropout, but I knew what it said. And I'm going, this doesn't say a whole lot except give a very broad stroke.
So it leaves it up to interpretation per county and per district.
Yeah.
So
which is a little scary.
Definitely. Do you think they're going to have designated spaces for security, for sleeping, running water, the mental health services? Do you think they're going to have that all set in place by October 1st when this goes into effect?
I don't think it will ever come into effect at all. And not only do I not think they can't do it by October 1st, I don't think it will ever happen. But what will happen is it will get brushed under the carpet. Okay. You know, the other day I spoke to a group of, a women's group, about 30 women there that were fairly affluent. And they invited me to come speak to them. And interesting is, like any group, out of 30, you're going to have about 3 that have all the answers based on what they read about in the paper. And I had a woman challenge me, and she said, well, have you read the article, blah, blah, blah? And I go, I haven't read that particular article, but I have read through the bill several times and discussed the bill with state representatives. I said, don't believe everything you're reading. Okay, because like most things, you're going to get the parts on whatever slant it goes to.
Right.
It's like when I do an interview, the always dangerous is will this be coming out of context because of what I said?
Right.
And often because I get a 15-second soundbite is what happens. That's the beauty of this. It's like you can pretty explain. So if you get mad, you'll know exactly why you're mad at me. But here's what's also interesting. So now you have 27 out of 30 that is just eating this up and going, we got to do something. I said, okay, now here, I understand how this works. I said, there is a property down US 1, this is our Brevard location, down US 1 that is roughly a mile from here that would be perfect for this. I said, by a show of hands, how many of you are okay with that? It went from 27 to 3 one way to 3 to 27 the other way. Not in my backyard. I said, that's the first problem we're going to have is how do we identify that property that's going to be okay with everybody, and what city, because a city will have to host it. A town will have to host it. And so there's so much. And then putting the power of allowing people to sue the county because they didn't do it the way the county thought. They thought the county should do it. That's going to tie up our court systems that are already tied up.
So I want to mention something that Governor DeSantis said, and I quote, "These are difficult issues, but you should not be accosted by a homeless like we see. We should be able to walk down the street and live your life." Do you see anything wrong with this statement?
The problem is those people aren't homeless. That's the problem.
Now, the other side of it is we don't have a homeless problem. We have a lack of mental health care problem. Most of the people you see out there that look like they're drugged up aren't drugged up at all. They're mentally ill.
You were mentioning the before and after pictures on social media, and people were saying that they're crackheads, but really they were not.
Well, what's interesting also is there's a picture that you'll be seeing if people follow us on Facebook by using it. And usually our before and afters are the cleanup. This one I'm putting up probably later in the next few weeks is going to it's showing a person that we serve that was a mother of a 5-year-old that is gorgeous. She did actually modeling. Okay. And he ended up passing away.
The husband?
Yep. She got beat up, which gave her a severe head injury and then had a stroke. I'm going to show the picture is of her when she was at 2018. And today, sitting on the side of US 1 on a park bench and coming to us and struggling just to speak. She walks like she's drugged up. No, because of the stroke in that, her one leg kind of kicks out. So she's kind of, okay. And so everybody says, oh, she's drugged. No, there's not a drug in her body. She is aware of who she is now. And she's devastated.
But
and she does not look like anything like she used to look. That's another before and after.
Total different person. You would not believe it.
Yeah. Scott, let's go back to the quote from Governor DeSantis. And I quote, "These are difficult issues, but you should not be accosted by a homeless like we see. You should be able to walk down the street and live your life." What about that language?
Okay, well, first I'm going to say I don't disagree. You should be able to walk down the street without being accosted by anybody. Okay? But let's call it what it is. First off, you should not be accosted by a criminal. You should not be accosted by someone who's mentally ill. But if you don't address those, you just lump people in as they. That's what he's saying, they. We could change that out for homeless. We could say that Black. We could say Hispanic. We could say women. We could say Jews. I mean, I could fill that in with all, because there's always been a they. And the problem, Ron, is that there is no they. We are they. And again, before you send me a bunch of nasty grams, I voted for the man. Okay, I'm an independent, but I'll just tell you, I voted for the man. I don't know where he went off the tracks. If you read his resume, there is no one better suited to be president on paper.
Right.
It's a great resume. But where he went off the tracks and starts talking about people as they, if that does not disturb you, if that doesn't disturb you, then you really need to look into your heart. And, I go by from a biblical standpoint. My favorite thing is when someone says, I'm a Christian, but. No, now you're just a Christian, but. You either believe that this is what it is or you don't. Right. You don't get to pick and choose what you believe. And so when people claim to be a certain person, like I'm a Christian, why do you need to tell me that? No one ever needs to tell you that. You will figure that out over time.
Right.
Okay, by their actions, not by what they say.
Right.
He is backing up his word by action. Mm-hmm. And though it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, he did not sponsor this bill. But one of two things were going to happen. It was going to either be signed by him or he lets it sit on the desk for 15 days, which is what I thought he would do because that gives him deniability.
Right.
But he signed it.
Right.
That tells me that he has a lack of understanding, at least in this area, of our constitutional right under Amendment 8, a lack of understanding of what homelessness really looks like. And I would invite him to come here. Mm-hmm. I doubt he would, but I would invite him to come here and tell us your understanding of Amendment 8. Tell us your understanding of homelessness. Mm-hmm. Tell us what statistics show. Statistics will show that most of these people are not drug addicts. They're not alcoholics. Most of these people are not criminals. They are not. Mm-hmm. What we really see is a fastest growing part of our population, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, it's seniors with a pension that was not designed for this economy. 80-year-old women are coming into our place, first-time homeless, because their spouse died and it cut their income and they can no longer live in the house. People with physical and mental disabilities. We know that those that don't know, my dearest friend here, Shelley, has 2 sons and a brother that were born with various levels of disability. If it weren't for her taking them and taking care of them as now adult children, mm-hmm. and a brother that's how old now?
48.
Who's going blind and is deaf, mm-hmm. and has some low capacity areas of caring for himself, he would be on the street.
He's more like a 13-year-old.
More like a 13-year-old kid, okay? Doesn't really have an understanding of money and how it works, because his parents, they were the caregivers. And when her parents passed in a very short period of time, with about a year of each other?
About 18 months.
Okay, 18 months, okay. And so it just piled on. Yeah. And the challenge is when you start saying things like this, they are those people. And then the next thing is with the housing crisis we have, I just learned recently, I got a call from, I believe it was Fox 35, wanting to know what my thoughts are on the latest reports that came out that said right now Florida would need 400,000 homes.
Holy mackerel.
That's how far away we are from the number of homes we need in Florida that affordable housing. And that the disparity, I think that's the right word I want to use, between income in Florida and cost of living is number 4 in the country. I'm surprised we're that low, but I can live with that if that's what it says, number 4. I mean, think about that, okay? Now you think of a state that a ridiculous amount of money and a ridiculous number of new people come into this area that are literally pushing out the people that have lived here their whole life.
Yeah.
So all that becomes they. Mm-hmm. And I am disgusted by that term. I'm disgusted with the idea that we just say a homeless person is a homeless person. Mm-hmm. No, that homeless person was a veteran that fought for your sorry ass so you could say the dumbest things you ever wanted to say. Ron is a veteran.
Yeah.
I understand, a decorated veteran. He should know better. Okay? And so without going, I can rant on this for a long time, but I hope people, and I'm not saying don't vote for him or to vote for him. I really don't. I'm sitting there, understand the issues of the people you're voting for. Because California just recently, LA, I should say specifically, just recently decided they have a huge homeless problem that needs to be taken care of.
Surprise.
Skid Row has been there for decades, but now that Skid Row went from a couple blocks to several miles, now they want to do something. The problem being proactive, where they could have gotten ahead of this, they are being reactive, which is a lot more expensive. That old saying of pay me now or pay me later, but you're going to pay.
And I see us going that way. If something doesn't change, I see us absolutely going that way.
So the language that the governor used, does that lead to dehumanization of
without a
homeless
doubt.
people and fear?
The average idiot can tell you that. I mean, again, I'm not calling
Because I feel like that language, like people are going to start fearing, if they don't already, they start fearing homeless people, like they won't walk past them or they won't look at them.
You already have people that do that.
Yeah, and Tracy, here's something else that happens, and this fits right into his narrative. When you watch the news, and I actually called some of my contacts in media a few weeks ago because they said a homeless person burnt down this house. And I said, no, an arsonist that happened to be homeless burnt down the house. But when you put that in people's head,
Absolutely.
a homeless man did this.
So that fear of homeless is everybody generalized.
Look, we have hundreds of volunteers. My average volunteer is between 65 and 85 years old and female. If it was so gosh darn dangerous, how long do you think those people would last around here?
Right.
Okay, but nobody's stating facts. Nobody is telling. What they're doing is they're creating a false narrative to appease probably a small group of individuals overall.
Right. And that dehumanization, which we talk about often, I think he's labeling it with that statement.
No doubt. No doubt. It's no different than saying, all black people are criminals.
Right.
All Jews are out to get out to screw you over. All those things we've all heard of, growing up, and even today, sad. In fact, what's interesting is sadly, I hear it more today than I did 10 years ago. And I heard it more as a kid. I'll be 62 here soon. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, how are we going backwards?
Yeah, right.
I mean, can you imagine all the family being on TV right now? Do you know any, the Jeffersons, any of those shows? Okay. They would, because everybody would have a fit. But what those shows did is it made us look at each other and realize how alike we are. But due to various circumstances, one of my biggest funder, he said to me one day, he said, Scott, he said, I didn't choose the beach I were washed up on. He says, I've been blessed. I grew up in Cupcake, Iowa, and I had a good family that stayed together. Everything went great. And now I'm in a position that I can give away millions of dollars. And what he was saying is he didn't even understand it himself. But that's true. It's like I didn't choose to be born into a home that was going to have a sick brother that would eventually create homelessness.
Right.
I didn't choose to be born into a family that my stepbrother's father would molest me. Okay, it goes on. I used to say that homeless people aren't born. That's no longer true.
Right.
I'm watching, there's infants literally living in here in Orange County, in the woods. And so if you see a bear, if you see a coyote, hang out a few minutes longer and you're going to see a homeless man, woman, or child, because we do not look at the ripple effect of our growth.
So speaking of growth, how is Matthews Hope funded?
We are mainly funded by individuals just like you and me. We do have major people that give a good amount of money, as well as this is the first time in Matthews Hope's 14 years that we actually took a grant from Orange County, which I think was the right choice for sure. And I think it was the right choice because they worked with us to figure out what was the best way for them as Orange County to come in and not put roadblocks to help us move forward. and it was a long process.
It was a very long process.
Will you guys get any of that 10 million that's supposed to be coming for the care?
I would
Matthews Hope
doubt
get a
it.
portion of that, or
statewide, what
where
would that
does
come
that
to?
go?
Statewide, what would that come to? I mean,
I think it's going to go to, I mean, I think we're speaking on the same thing, but I think it's going to go to a dark hole, because I don't think it's going to really go towards our homeless people.
but I'll also say that 10 million just made that 30 million, the 20 million before that, equal to what it was just a few years ago. So we really didn't add to it. What we did is, it's kind of like we have a glass and we have holes halfway up, and we're constantly pouring into the glass. The problem is it only gets half full because it keeps pouring out the sides. We have to change our thinking. And we, as the general public, we got to quit letting a small part of our community vote. And everybody, it's the one power we still have. But when you see that, I think it was Iowa, they had to go out and get more ballots because they had such a turnout. That turnout ended up being about 15%. So if we're letting 15% of the people control what's happening across the country, we're allowing that to happen. So use your vote. Again, whether it's Republican, Democrat, or something in between, I don't care.
Yeah.
But don't vote single issues and vote on the overall. If somebody loved what we do and we're all behind homelessness, but they thought all Jews should be taken away and that we should export everybody that is just like us, because, the only true people, Americans, are American Indians.
Yeah.
We all came from someplace else. So that kind of crap, when you hear people say, well, what did Trump say the other day? He said, he made a comment of poisoning the blood of our country. Okay, first off, the blood of our country, if any of us were to do a DNA test, are going to be pretty blown away by how many different types of blood you have. I had 6 or 7 key ones. Okay, some were bigger than others, but that was all blood, which meant that people from different places all came to be part of who I am today. And so you got to knock that crap off. It plays well to a small group of people. And again, I'm not saying don't vote for Trump. I, oddly enough, voted for the man. And now I'm sitting there kind of going, yeah, he was, I believed, was going to be someone out of government that would address certain things. I think economically, we saw some good happen. I'm not taking that away from him. But where'd all our other values go? So again, if you got to send me an Instagram, do vote for him, vote for Biden. I'm just surprised we're here, and that's what we got to work.
And that's who we have to vote for, right?
And I find most people don't want either one of them. I'm going, well, then how in the heck did we get here?
What are we going to do now?
Okay, but we also need to know and understand that what happens at our state, county, and local level really plays a bigger part in our day in and day out life.
Definitely.
The feds have certain things they do, national security, all that kind of stuff. The state, they're making sure that everybody's going to 75 tops throughout the state. They're making sure that a felony is a felony, whatever. Okay. But it's really what's happening in our backyard.
Right. Well, that's enough for this episode. Thank you for watching. On our next episode, we will have a guest who is a local elected official and another who is campaigning for her spot. And we're going to see their vision, their thoughts on the homeless crisis that we have here, not only here, but just in general.
Throughout the country.
Florida, throughout the country, exactly. Be sure to like, comment, and share this podcast. If you would like to get involved more with Matthews Hope, please reach out to them. There are many opportunities, whether it be financially, or you come in for the day, for every week, every month. They'll plug you into what will help them.
I encourage you all to please follow us on Facebook. We tell stories of success stories. We tell you of failures. We tell you of partnerships. We tell you of what our most immediate needs are. There's a lot of good information there, but also it is an opportunity. And I'm not here to brainwash anybody to believe what I believe, but we try to educate as much as we can, even with things that we disagree with.
Yeah.
People can take what they hear and take it somewhere. but involve yourself. And one thing I'll say in closing from my end is that we have an open policy, an open invitation to anyone currently in office at the state, county, or local level to come on their podcast. We don't edit it out. We're not here to gotcha moment. We want to know what you think. We want you to give you the opportunity to share how we're wrong, how we're right, what we believe together, what we don't. But bring the facts that you have, share the facts that you have, and even an idea that we don't know of. We don't know everything. But also for those running for office, that invitation, and to the general public. The folks that want to send me the nasty grams by some of the things I've said, I will invite you over here and let you speak on who you believe in, who you think should be in office, and why. Just bring the facts.
Know what you believe.
Opinions. I'll say this, and I've shared it before. I raised my girls with this simple thing. Even after I became a pastor. So ladies, I am not here to tell you or make you believe what I believe or how I think politically or religiously. However, I want you to be able to understand why you believe what you believe. Where did that come from? Not watching TV or neighbor Joe down the street or even the president said it. Peel back the onion, see for yourself, do your own investigation, and then be able to articulate it. And if you can do that, even when we disagree, I will always respect you.
Definitely.
And that goes for all of us.
Thank you for that, Scott. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next episode.